Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin ti naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I am just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week, it's all about the road. You're going to meet my new friend, Erik. Erik is an Uber and an Inn driver, and he's going to be my new go-to guy whenever I need a private driver in Puerto Vallarta. He might even be yours, too. You never know. Then we have guests Elle and Russel from New Zealand. They're returning to the show. They're going to be talking about buying a used car in Guadalajara, Mexico, and talking about the towns that they drove to from Puerto Vallarta in that new vehicle. Man, these guys cover a lot of ground. So let's cover some ground before we hit the road. Let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 14th day of June, 2022. Well, there's big news starting, it already happened. You don't need to have a COVID test to return to the United States. This is from Bloomberg Online. The Biden administration is lifting its requirement that all travelers test negative for coronavirus before flying to the U.S. amid pressure from airlines that viewed the measure as excessive and blamed it for depressing ticket purchases. The change will take effect after midnight on June 12th, so it happened a couple of days ago, and be reassessed by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in 90 days. According to a senior administration official who requested anonymity to detail the plans before it was formally announced. Under existing policy, international travelers flying to the U.S. are required to present proof of a negative coronavirus test taken within a day of their departure flight to the U.S. Foreign nationals still are required to be vaccinated against coronavirus to enter the country, with limited exceptions. The health agency may decide to reinstate the requirement if a new concerning variant of the virus emerges, the official said. The administration will continue to recommend testing prior to air travel, but believes that coronavirus vaccines and new treatments made it possible to ease the requirement. The move is not likely to significantly increase the risk to the U.S. of coronavirus spread, according to biosecurity expert Erik though he said travelers should still wear masks when they fly to reduce the chance of spread. I have long thought that testing requirements for travel into the U.S. was not evidence-based or logical, and most other countries have abandoned this approach, said Toner, a senior scholar with the Johns Hopkins Center for the Health Security, in an interview. It's been a hardship for the airlines and a real hardship for travelers as people get back to travel for business and leisure. Airline stocks climbed briefly on the news, with the S&P index of carriers rising less than 1% Friday morning before turning negative among a broader slump in equities. And I have a link to that Bloomberg article in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Gee, I kind of feel sorry for all those labs, all those places that have been set up for the last 2 years to keep us all safe. Not really. In fact, not even a little bit, but it's okay. They'll be fine. I mean, they're going to be counting their money long time. So go ahead and count. Good riddance to you guys. And speaking of good riddance, Canadians who are unvaccinated and have up till now been banned from airline and train travel are finally getting their freedom back. How about that? This is from CBC Political Desk, because we know all vaccine mandates are political. Here we go. Ottawa set to announce end to vaccine mandates for domestic travel outbound flights, it says here. Mandates have been in effect since October 30th, 2021. The federal government is set to announce Tuesday an end to vaccine mandates for domestic travel on planes and trains and for outbound international travel, the CBC News has learned. The government may reinstate the vaccine requirement if a new variant of the virus emerges. God, that sounds a lot like that last article I read about what's going to happen in the U.S. Did they lift the same line? Let me see. I won't even look. Doesn't matter. The sources said with direct knowledge of the decision, who spoke with CBC News on the condition they not be named. God, this does. It sounds just like that last article. Okay, never mind, Barry. Go back. Chief Government Whip Stephen McKinnon confirmed early Tuesday morning that Canadians should expect an announcement rolling back vaccine mandates later in the day, but would not provide specifics. I think it's time to move on from some of these measures, he said. They are being suspended, of course. They could come back. The pandemic is not over, but it's time to, we think, soften up some of the measures that are in place. The vaccine mandates for travel have been in effect since October 30th, 2021. As the mandates were phased in, travelers had 1 month grace period during which they could instead provide proof of negative COVID-19 test. The government has been under pressure from opposition parties and industry organizations to relax some public health measures in response to delays and long lineups at airports. When the vaccine mandate came into effect for travel, Transport Minister Omar Alhabrea said it was to keep travelers and employees in the industry safe. Unvaccinated Canadians have always been allowed to return to Canada, but the federal government's website says unvaccinated Canadians have to meet all pre-entry arrival, 8-day testing, arrival can, and quarantine requirements, or face a fine of up to $5,000 or criminal prosecution. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Isaac Botox said that while 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine protects against severe illness or death, it's time to end the travel mandates. The purpose was to really prevent transmission of COVID-19 in transportation, he said. 2 doses doesn't really provide much in a way of protection against getting the infection and onward transmission of the infection for those who are infected. Government officials, including Alabrea, Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos, and Chief Public Health Officer Theresa Tam have pointed to mandates as an effective way of getting more Canadians vaccinated. But experts have questioned the effectiveness of vaccine mandates for travel since the emergence of the more infectious Omicron variant. Tam has said that effective protection against the variant requires a 3rd booster dose. So far, the government definition of fully vaccinated remains 2 doses of an approved COVID-19 vaccine or 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Last week, the federal government announced that it was suspending random COVID-19 testing at airports. At that time, Alabrea said Ottawa was taking other measures to address airport congestion, such as hiring more security screening personnel and adding more customs kiosks at the Toronto's Pearson International Airport. And I have a link to that CBC article in the show notes. So anyway, things seem to be opening up in the U.S. and in Canada, kind of in concert. Maybe it has to do with what each other is doing. I mean, it kind of sounds like they're talking the same talk, dropping the COVID test in the United States to enter. But, I think it might even be a little bit more likely that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, just returned from partying in California here and brought a case of the Rona home with him. See here, Trudeau is double vaccinated and boosted, and he now has come down with the coof for the third time. It says here, the second in 4 months, as a matter of fact. So my guess is that considering that he's broken his own rules by flying back to Canada while infected with the virus, he might need to massage the message. And finally, after locking down unvaccinated Canadians for, 8 months now. And let's see, since the end of last October, 8 months. He might give in to the dirty, unwashed, unvaccinated masses. Who knows? Anyway, that's my take. I know I'm not a doctor. Don't write me letters. I'm not a politician either, okay? Whatever. At any rate, congratulations to you Canadians. You're all clear for takeoff. The city came and brought some heavy equipment to remove tons and tons of rubbish and bushes and brush and debris from the Kwale Island and from the riverbed, which is a big marvel, gotta say. They actually need to get ahead of the rains by clearing those riverbeds, and they really needed that help. We talked with Guy Weeks about all the help that they really do need, and boy, the city came and just took tons and tons of the stuff away. So that was really good. And from a recent post I see from Facebook here, the Puerto Vallarta Isla Kwale activities page, it seems that the Puerto Vallarta Garden Club is assisting with some of the planting over on the island, and the Vallarta Botanical Garden is helping out by donating plants. So that's a great group effort, great teamwork. How about that? And I just can't wait to see what's happening on that island when I get back in a couple of months. Now, they're currently running a fundraiser to build a kids' playground over on the island, and they need about $1,000 to pay for that equipment. That's $1,000 US. And so far, they just have about 150. I have a link to their PayPal account set up there for this particular project. So if you are at all interested, you can look in the show notes for that link. And it's looking really good. The island is shaping up terrific. So way to go, Guy Weeks. And if you haven't heard the conversation that I had with Guy, we talked about what they're doing on the island, since Hurricane Nora came by and buried the whole thing in sand and debris. And I have a link to that podcast in the show notes if you haven't heard that one yet. It's a great, great episode. Guy talks about moving to Puerto Vallarta and how freeing that really was for him and his psyche. And he's doing a great job on that island. So keep up the great work. All you volunteers that are helping Guy, thanks for doing that. Let's see here. Vallarta had her first downpour. She got nearly 2 inches of the wet stuff on the 9th of June. So, that's good news. The rain is coming right on time. It usually falls on my birthday, which is tomorrow, June 15th. Puerto Vallarta has its first gay police unit in Mexico. This is from Banderas News. The city has a new police commissioner, Commander Israel de Jesus Garcia Moscada, and he's replaced the former police commissioner, Captain Luis Fernando Vivieros, who retired from office for health reasons. In his first meeting with local security officers, the new commander assured that in Puerto Vallarta there will be a well-trained and equipped police force with several specialized branches within the department to handle the different security issues that affect all citizens. One of the new branches will be the first gay police unit in Mexico. The municipality will have patrols and officers that specialize in dealing with emergencies and cases of violence in the gay community with the aim of responding to the needs of the LGBTQI plus people who have an important presence and social impact in Puerto Vallarta. He also announced that in the near future, the new patrol cars required by the municipality will be delivered to reinforce police presence in the city's neighborhoods once the efforts that began under command of Captain Vivieros have been completed. In addition, the government of Mayor Luis Alberto Michel, together with the new police commissioner, will continue to work towards returning Puerto Vallarta to the number one spot on the National Safety Survey, which measures the public perception of security in municipalities throughout the Republic. In the latest survey, Puerto Vallarta ranked as the 8th safest city and the safest tourist destination in all of Mexico. I have a link to that article from the Banderas News, lifted from Vallarta in Lina, in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I have a couple more items that, you know what, I'm going to shelve until next week because we have two great interviews today. So first is my new driver in Puerto Vallarta. Now, as you know, if you've been following the saga over the years, Jose Camacho Castillo was our driver in paradise for many years, but Jose moved to Hawaii with his family about a year ago, and I've been searching for a new driver now for some time. Now, there have been several suggested to me, and I just haven't had time to check them out, and I will in the future. But a friend of mine and a friend of the show, Johnny D. from Canada, Johnny is the hot pickle and carrot guy who retired in Puerto Vallarta because, well, he could afford to. And anyway, actually, Johnny stayed with me and my wife a couple weeks ago here in Southern California. I don't know if you know this or not, but I was the Harriet Tubman of Canada. I ran the Underground Railroad, Mexico to Los Angeles to Las Vegas to, the route. Anyway, Justin just free the unvaccinated, so don't worry about it. But anyway, Johnny introduced me to his Uber driver, Erik. Johnny had gotten his number, and he used him from time to time to drive him to places like Bucerias or Sayulita, because Johnny likes to leave town on the weekends and listen to music. Or, even locally, he would get Erik to drive him around Puerto Vallarta. He told me he's got a nice car. He says he speaks English flawlessly. He says he's got a great selection of music to listen to, all genres, So he's talking him up. And so anyway, he says, let's go see the Gecko Band. And they were playing over at El Chavarro. It was a Saturday up in Bucerias. So I asked him, well, are we going to take a bus? He says, no, let me ask Erik. So sure enough, Erik was free. And so at 10 in the morning, I took a cab from Ray and Debbie's place where I was staying up in Pitial, and I met Erik and Johnny over at the Walmart, which is, across the street from Puerto Magico. And then we just took off for Bucerias. And Johnny gave me the front seat because I got the long legs. And anyway, after talking with Erik for 15, 20 minutes, I knew that I had to have this guy on the show. Now, he's an Uber driver. He's an In driver. Both of those are apps. You can download them on your smartphone, and you can. That's how you get from here to there in paradise. If you're not taking a cab or you're not taking a bus, right? Or if you don't have a car of your own. And as an Uber driver, I figured that Erik could give us some great information on how the whole thing works. Maybe, in turn, it would give us a little bit better understanding of the dynamics that are involved in these different ride applications that we use every day. So Erik is, by the way, and you're going to find out, he's also available for you to hire for the day or part of the day at a very, very reasonable rate. He's got a nice car. It's not an SUV like the one that Jose had, but it's a 5-passenger car, so you can take up to 4 people with you, if you don't mind having 3 people in the back, a little bit cozy. But it's a 2018 sedan called a Honda City. I have a picture of it in the show notes, and so you can check it out and see what Erik's ride looks like. And I also have Erik's WhatsApp and Messenger information in the show notes, so that if you are interested, you could hire Erik. And I highly recommend his services. He's a kind guy. His English is great, as you will find out. So you know what? Let's find out. Let's go right now to Bucerias, to a bar in a restaurant called Yo-Yo Ma's, where we stopped to have a drink and to have a little bite. And then let's meet my new friend, an uber good guy, your new driver and my new driver in paradise, Erik with a K, spelled with a K, Erik Calderon Sanchez, your very own private driver in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Erik, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta?
I was born in Mexico City, but when I was 2 years old, my parents moved here, and I lived since I was brought here in Vallarta. I never moved to any other city, by exception that I moved to Canada in 2000 to 2004 for 4 years to Montreal.
What were you doing in Montreal?
I was a waiter.
Yeah?
Yeah. When I first get there, I learned French. I could not work in many places until I learned it.
No kidding, really?
Because when I started working, I worked in a library at the school, and that was my first job there. And then when I learned more, I started working as a waiter.
That's a smart thing. Go to work in a library, learn some French, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Learning more.
Wow. So your French is pretty good?
I try.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All
It's the French is a language that I learned in school.
Okay.
But English, I learned it working.
Yeah. Well, your English is excellent, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So you're a pata salada. I mean, you've been here your entire life. You're not a chilango.
No,
you're not. All right. So you're an Uber driver here.
Yes.
Right? Before you were an Uber driver here, working, what kind of things did you do?
I used to be a front desk manager in a hotel.
Yeah.
And the
Is it still
company
here?
closed.
Oh, okay.
The company closed after 5 years of the contract, and another company get the new concession. But I could not work there because the policies were different and there was a bunch of different stuff. I started losing commissions and stuff like that, so I need to move on to something else, and that's when I started moving to the driving.
To driving. All right. Always been an Uber driver? You ever been a taxi driver?
No.
No, just
Uber. Yeah.
So you do Uber and you do another?
Uber and in-driver.
An in-driver.
Yeah, but I started with Uber at the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, now, and remember that at the beginning, things were very rough for Uber drivers here in Vallarta.
That's right.
They had a really rough start.
Yeah.
How are the feelings now? Do you get a lot of pushback from taxistas?
No. Now even there's taxi drivers that have the app and they can work too.
Really? Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. They should not even think that could happen, but at the end it happened because if they cannot go against something, they need to join it, and that's what they did.
Yeah. Well, that's the old saying, right?
Yeah. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Now, are they riding around in their cabs doing that, or they got their own personal cars doing that?
No, in their cabs too.
Really?
But only in driver. Because Uber don't accept taxis.
Interesting. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all good information for all you listeners out there. You got to pay attention, you know? All right, so let's talk a little bit about what happens when you get paid by Uber for a ride. What kind of the money that you collect, what goes to them and what goes to you?
When at the beginning, when I start working Uber, I get a 20% for Uber, and the 75% was for me.
Okay.
And there was like an agreement with the government for the taxes to be paid by Uber.
Mhm.
But after the concession for Uber changed owner, and they start getting more commission from us, so I get to pay sometimes 45% on each trip.
Wow.
So that was a very low wage of money to pay gasoline and parts of the car. And
Yeah, because you got to, I mean, these streets, how many times a year do you have to redo your suspension on your car?
every 6 months.
Seriously?
Yeah.
How much does that cost?
Probably 15,000 to 20,000 pesos.
Right. So tell them, what's that in dollars?
In dollars, it's around
About $500, right?
500. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's big money.
Yeah,
right.
I
So
know.
remember that, when you're paying your taxi driver, when you're paying your Uber driver, when you're paying anybody, part of that money that you're paying goes to the upkeep of their car. Yeah.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And what about the tips? I mean, if you get a tip like for 20 pesos, do you get that whole 20 pesos?
Yeah.
You
if
do.
The
That
tips
goes to
are
you.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when they say you want to tip your driver,
Yes.
that goes
It
all,
goes
that
directly
all
to me.
you.
Yeah.
All right. So that's good to know too, because I know that some people are of the opinion that some of that also goes to Uber, and so they'd rather just pay you in cash.
What happens is when they pay you in cash, you have it in the moment. But if they pay you with the card, it takes a little while. It takes probably 10 days to get that tip.
Okay. All right. So maybe think about tipping your Uber driver in person, right, with cash.
Yeah, that will be better.
Do you prefer it?
Yeah.
Of course he does. All right. That's another good tip. What's the difference between in-driver and Uber?
The difference between Uber and in-driver, for example, for us as drivers, is that when we take an Uber trip, we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know how much you're going to pay. We probably know an average of what you're going to pay and the distance that we're going to make, but we never know the place that we're going to go.
Really?
Yeah. With in-driver, we know before how much you're going to pay. We can raise the price a little bit if we consider that it's good to raise the price for the distance, depending on distance.
Mm-hmm.
But we know exactly from where to where you're going before we even choose the trip. We don't have restriction to choose any trip. And with Uber, you just get one at a time, but whatever Uber sends you. And in InDriver, you can choose between 10 trips.
Oh, wow.
The one that you feel more comfortable to do.
So do you think that drivers for in-driver or that are doing Uber or in-driver, they prefer to use the in-driver for that reason?
There's many things that they prefer in InDrive because InDrive take care of the taxes. So we don't need to pay like every 6 month tax payments or anything.
Mm-hmm.
InDriver take care of everything. They take off from you, but it's very little what they take.
Okay. All right. So get that in-driver app, Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Today you are taking me and Johnny D around. You're giving us a ride.
Yeah.
And you are at our disposal, which is pretty cool. You do that for a lot of people?
Not very often.
No?
Because it's hard to find people like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look at that. All right. So
We take more local trips because not many people from overseas knows the app at InDriver. They know when they arrive, what they have is Uber.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody had your number and wanted to, hire you for the day, you're available, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, you know where you're going to find that. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. In this episode, I'll have Erik's smiling face, and I'll have his contact information so that you can get a hold of him and hire him for the day or half a day or whatever you're going to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, come on. Thank you, brother. All right, Liz, is there anything that I missed about Uber or InDriver that you think that we need to talk about, or do you think we covered it?
I think we cover most of all. The most important things.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go into town. Let's do something a little more fun. Let's talk about food, because
Okay.
I like to eat, and I know you probably like to eat, although you could use a couple extra pounds on you. I'm looking at you right now. We'll see.
I'm on the streets every day, and I always look for different places.
All right, so let's talk about your favorite places to eat. If you're in Vallarta, for example, where do you go for breakfast? If you were going to pick one place for breakfast, where would you go?
If I pick up one place for breakfast in Vallarta that I have enough time to go and sit, because mostly what we eat is tacos, because tacos stands are fast food, and that's what we have available everywhere.
Yeah.
But if I want to go to a place, I go to Café de Olla in Olas Altas. That's a very fast breakfast service restaurant, and it's not expensive.
And what's your favorite dish there? What do you order when you go there for breakfast?
I order either French toast or chilaquiles.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Rojo or verde?
No, verdes.
Verdes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You know?
I know, baby. I know. Verdes is my favorite too.
Yeah.
How about lunch? If you were going to pick a place for lunch in Vallarta, where would you go?
If I go for lunch, maybe I go to a seafood place. There's places in my neighborhood that are not that expensive, and I can eat like fish or shrimps, and that will make me feel light in food for continuing working.
Yeah. And so which colonia do you live in?
In Pitillal.
You're in Pitial.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm staying in Pitial this week. So you, what's the name of that restaurant? You got
The name of the restaurant that I go is the Oyster.
The Oyster.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's easy to find?
It's a corner.
Okay.
And everybody knows the place. It's always full because the prices are good and the food is good.
Okay.
And it's really fresh seafood.
Fresh seafood.
Yeah.
The Oyster.
Yeah,
All right.
the Oyster.
Ostino. How about dinner?
Dinner, I'm not a very dinner person.
No.
But at night, I think there are the best taco places. And that's when I eat tacos at night.
Okay.
Because even if you are like late night, you can eat tacos anytime. So that's the best thing that I could eat at night.
Yeah. All right. Now because you drive and you take people all around, we're up in Nayarit today. You got any favorite places in like Bucerias to eat?
In Bucerias, one of my favorite places is El Brujo. It's a restaurant on the beach area. That's one of my best menus that I could recommend.
And they got a place in town, too. They got a place in
Vallarta.
Vallarta.
Got a place in town,
They've been around a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's excellent. How about for, like, if you were going to go get, like, a dessert, something sweet, ice cream or whatever, do you have a favorite spot for that?
Yeah, in Marina Vallarta, I will go to Pie in the Sky.
Excellent.
They have good cakes.
They're around town, too. They're just not in the marina. Are they got a couple places or no?
They got a couple of places, yeah. They got one in Bucerias and one in Marina, too.
Okay, yeah. All right, good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
If you were going to just take a day off, without anybody else, where would you go?
If I have a day off?
Yeah, you're going to come back, right? It's just a day trip.
Okay. In my day off, what I could do is to take my wife and my dogs and go to the beach. I will go to Higuera Blanca or probably Destiladeras. Those are the places that I like to go because the dogs could walk alone and they're allowed to be in the beach. It's not like a very busy place. So that's where I look for places that are quiet to relax
and dog
and
friendly.
stay all day. Yeah. And dog friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Destiladeras is a dog friendly beach.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's not like a special beach for dogs.
No.
But it's a place where you can take your pets.
They allow it.
Yeah.
They allow it. What about if you're going to take 3 days off? If you had 3 days, what would you do? Where would you go?
In Vallarta.
Anywhere. You could, if you're leaving town for 3 days, where would you go?
I will take a hike on the mountains. On the way to Majahuitas or probably to the Eden in Mismaloya. I would like to take that hike, and then probably I go on a boat tour, and at the end maybe just relax in a beach.
Yeah, find yourself a palapa to lay underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very cool. I'm going out with you guys. If you had a word of advice for like someone who's never been to Puerto Vallarta before, what would that advice be? Other than, taking in-driver with Erik over here.
Yeah, exactly. Besides that, I will say that just to be friendly with the people, because people is friendly here in Vallarta, and try to find the local places. Like not go for the name of companies, but more for the service of the people. That's what I would recommend.
That's a great recommendation. Yeah. What about a word of warning? Do you have any words of warning for people that are coming?
Warning: just if you drink too much, don't go to places where you cannot, where you swim, because there's tides that are bad in the ocean and they could make you drown.
Yeah, they pull a lot of drunk people out of the water here, don't
exactly.
they? Yeah.
I used to work on the beach long time ago, and I rescue many people that drink a lot and they go and swim. They think they can do it, but at the end they get tired and they cannot come out until someone pick them up.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you're an ex-surfer, dude.
Right? I was, yeah.
Yeah. Where other than Sayulita, are there places you can surf here in the bay?
Yeah, there's Punta del Burro, there's La Lancha, there's San Pancho. There's quite a few places, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to go to the hippie beach. You can go to other beaches.
You can go to other beaches. Sayulita is the easiest wave that you can take. That's why there's a lot of lessons that you can take for surfing there.
Yeah.
Because you have either right or left wave, and you can learn the easiest that is for you.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
What about places to eat in Sayulita? You got a favorite spot in Sayulita?
No, because when I go to Sayulita, I used to take my own food. I pass to Bucerias, probably to El Brujo, pick up the food, and then go to Sayulita.
Oh, okay. All right. So he knows better.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you're on the road a lot. You see a lot of stuff. And we, every once in a while, hear about, like, police setting up roadblocks and stuff like that along the highways and stuff like that. When you see something like that, what do? You just kind of slow down? You do whatever they tell you to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you need to stop. Usually there's inspection on the weekends for alcohol. People drink and drive, they get stopped. And if they get to be drunk, then they have a penalty and they probably go to jail for 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah.
And if during the day you have a police check, it's just probably to see that your papers are okay or anything. They just ask you a few questions and they probably let you continue.
Right.
Nothing happens unless you are like involved in something or that you have done something, but otherwise it's normal.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So not to worry unless you're like drunk as a skunk, right? And don't drive drunk, all right?
No.
Don't do it. It's not good.
Exactly.
What have you seen on the road? Have you seen anything crazy? Is there anything? What's the craziest thing that you've ever seen like happen when you're driving?
The craziest thing that I've seen is probably people naked on the road, or maybe people doing spins inside in the middle of a traffic. But that doesn't happen very often.
In the road. That's usually probably a gringo with too much to drink, right?
Sometimes. Or sometimes just Mexicans too that are drunk.
Yeah, that lost their car and their pants at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
That could happen too. Obviously, we're here in Nayarit, but you go all over the place, right? You'll take people down to Maito or to Tehuamixle and stuff like that.
I get trips sometimes to Guadalajara, to Mexico City. The longest that I have taken is Mexico City.
Yeah? All right. So what did you charge for that? Think about today. What would you charge to take somebody to Mexico City and back?
To Mexico City and back, it's a long trip. It's very tired, and sometimes it takes longer than what you think. So if I'm on the way to go and come back at the same day or probably the next day, the least that I could charge is 8,000 pesos.
Okay. So
at
8,000, it's about $400.
Yeah,
right?
and it's a lot of kilometers for the car.
Yeah.
Because the distance.
Right. So you know what? You fly, okay? It's cheaper. But if you got to get there fast, you never know. Erik can do it, right?
I take someone. The one that I take was 2 Colombians with a daughter. The daughter could not drive in a bus, or she could not fly. So that's the reason they took the trip with me.
Right. So expensive daughter.
She needs to stop every 1 hour, 2 hours driving because she needs to breathe
Yeah.
and then we continue.
Interesting. Wow. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting trip for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was every 2 hours a stop, 2 or 3 hours we stop.
Stop. They get out. They walk around.
It was a long trip. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can tell. Wow. All right, but it's good to know that you're available for a long haul too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Did you ever have any kids? It's just you and your doggies.
No,
and you and your wife.
my wife and my doggies. Yeah.
All right. Well, good for you. All right. It's
Yeah.
it's easier to live that way. Don't let
Yes.
my wife hear that, okay? Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we say goodbye today?
No, I just want to say thank you and to come visit Vallarta. It's a really nice place, and you're gonna enjoy it.
Absolutely. Now, I will have the contact information for Erik. They'll be in the show notes. Again, you can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And if you have any trouble getting a hold of him, you email me. Let me know. I'll make sure that you get a hold of him. You got
Thank you.
WhatsApp, right, Erik?
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
That's all you need, brother. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Erik. I have Erik's information. As I said, they are in the show notes. You can find them at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I have his WhatsApp number there and his messenger contact information there in the show notes, as well as a couple of pictures of Erik and one of his ride. And remember, if you have trouble getting a hold of Erik for any reason, send me off a message. I will get back to you. I'll find out what's going on with him. All right. Now, in the spirit of driving, our next guests are not new to this show. In fact, they were on the show a couple months back. They're my friends Elle and Russel from New Zealand. Well, originally, they were both from South Africa, but immigrated to New Zealand and just recently escaped New Zealand and pulled Mexico out of a hat, if you remember the episode that we talked to them about. Let's see, and of course, then they ended up in Puerto Vallarta. I had them on the show it was in February, and they pretty much were newly arrived when I talked to them. They'd only been here several months. But I did mention at the end of that podcast episode that they had purchased a car and they were preparing to take a road trip. And that when they got back, I was going to get back to them and just see how that all went. So last trip down, I actually was able to track down Elle and Russel. And they were between trips. They were actually getting ready to go on another one, right? But anyway, I wanted them to just sit down and tell us about their travels and that they took in their new car. And we talked about buying a used car in Mexico and about the many different places, of course, that they took their new car to. So let's go right now to a little hole-in-the-wall bar. It's over in Cinco de Diciembre neighborhood. It's called El Anzuelo, the fish hook in Spanish. And let's have a chat about hitting the road and touring in Mexico with our friends Elle and Russel Renz in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Russel and Elle, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank
Nice
you,
of you to-
Barry. Thanks for inviting us.
Nice of you to have us back.
Oh man! Well, the reason I'm having you back is because you finally got a car.
Yes, no, we managed to eventually find one, yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Was it hard to buy a car in Puerto Vallarta?
It had its challenges. First of all, I'm a bit of a German car nut, but I decided against buying a German motor vehicle in Mexico, mainly because of the availability of parts and the cost thereof. So I was forced to look for a Japanese car. Looking at the condition of the roads and the ground clearances that were needed, we sort of decided to get an SUV type vehicle, and eventually narrowed it down to a few models, three different models. I was very surprised to see that the actual franchise dealers, like Kia, for example, do not stock any used cars whatsoever. They do not have a used car department in any way, shape, or form. All their used car stock is, when it's traded in, is sold off to independent dealers.
Okay.
So the other thing is with the supply chain issues, and new cars being in such short supply at the moment, used car prices have gone through the roof. In the States, I was looking at the figures, used car prices have escalated 48% in the last 12 months, which is ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the search started. It was quite difficult initially. The only platform that I could really try and use to find a car was Mercado Libre, which is all in Spanish. I eventually found a car that I was looking for, Toyota RAV4, and I was able through Google Translate to get put in touch with a guy that could help me sort of process the transaction. The car was in Guadalajara, so it was quite a problem to commit to a vehicle that I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
Because they wanted like 300,000 pesos for it. So I convinced the guy. I said to him, send me all the photographs of the vehicle, the service history, close-ups of the things like tires and bodywork damage and all this sort of stuff. If I like what I see, then I'll commit to you bring the car to me. If it's right, I'll buy it. If it's not right, you can take it back again. That's your problem.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the car was as described. Quite happy to go ahead with the purchase. The problem then was to get the plates changed to the Jalisco plates, because it had Mexican plates on the vehicle, or Mexico City plates. And I spoke to a guy called Pat at Pat's Plates. He charges quite a bit of money to help you through the process, but it's really it's money well spent. I had my license converted through him, and it was a relatively painless process, and he was absolutely amazing in terms of telling me what the process was, submitting the car for the VIN check, and then he did all the paperwork and that to get the plates done. He came to our house, took the old plates off, came back with the new plates, put it all on, all done. Arranging insurance was an absolute breeze. And very, very reasonable compared to what we would pay for car insurance in New Zealand. Also, a couple of emails, a payment, bang, done, all good to go. So, yeah, really happy to be mobile, and we have been sort of set free as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
We've got our wings, and yeah, we've done quite a bit of traveling.
Yeah, I mean, you got your wings, and you didn't waste any time. You went at a lot of places, so that's amazing. I'm going to definitely have Pat on from Pat's Plates, because he's got a lot of great information. I really like how he does business.
Yeah, he's absolutely amazing. I just saw a post of his just the other day, slightly off topic, but someone was questioning the amount of money that he charged for the process, and he was completely transparent and said, look, this is what we do. If you want to do it yourself, this is what you need to do. And this is how long it's going to take you. And the backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and backwards and forwards. So he completely told them what you're up for if you want to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Which is, most people don't give away their trade secrets, but he was quite happy to do that because he's not hiding anything.
Right, right. Yeah. No,
So,
that's why I like him. That's why I like him.
Hats off to him, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so where did you go? You took off, and where did you go? I mean, let's hear about your trip. Maybe your first trip out.
Yes, our first trip we decided to go and discover the colonial cities. And my bucket list, I always had the butterflies, and we got our car round about the best time to go and see the butterflies. So we worked out a route. We love the magic towns, so we try and drive through the magic towns, the Pueblo Magicos. And our first stop was just outside here, was in Mascota, because we've been to San Sebastián de la Usta before, and that was lovely. So we decided to go to Mascota first, spend a few hours there, because I don't think you really need to spend more than a few hours there.
Tell people about the unfinished temple. That was amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, in Mascota.
No, this was in Mascota.
Yeah.
Yes, in Mascota, the unfinished temple, just absolutely beautiful. I was lost for words. It was literally the ruins of a church that they wanted to build, and it was overgrown with grass and creepers, and it was just an absolutely magical place. I just thought it was the best place to ever have wedding photos taken. It was just superb. I loved that area. After that,
Hacienda.
oh yes, I forget. Russell has to keep reminding me. Barry, have you ever seen the series Monarca?
No, I haven't.
Well, you have to watch it. It's about a family, and they have a tequila business in Jalisco. It's in Jalisco that they have the tequila business, and I think it's a little bit based on the truth, but very loosely. And they had this fabulous hacienda where a lot of the footage was shot. And I showed it to Russell, and I said to him, on our route, there is this place called El Carmen, and this is the hacienda where Monarca was shot. And he surprised me for 2 nights, right? Yeah, and we booked into this hacienda for 2 nights. It was fabulous.
Wow.
It was so beautiful. Anyway, we left there, and we went to Ayayik, which was, I can't say of any one of the cities or towns that we've been to that they weren't fabulous. They really were. Ayayik was lovely. Only thing that I had against that was the water of the lake was like pea soup. It really was like thick algae pea soup.
Yeah, it's you can't swim in it.
No. But it strangely looks beautiful in that green color. You know, that very bright green color. And then we went to Chapala after that. Also lovely. And then we went to Angangueo, and we stayed in a little place called Hidalgo just outside Angangueo, and then drove in. Angangueo was probably about half an hour, 20 minutes away from Hidalgo, where you would go up into the mountain and take this very windy road up the mountain, which is a beautiful, beautiful drive in itself. Get to the entrance of the butterflies, where if you ever go there, just get a horse. Please get a horse. Don't try
to walk it.
Don't try and walk it. You get on a horse, and it's very rocky and very hard, and it's about an hour to the top to get to the butterflies, and then there's another about half an hour that you have to walk to get to the butterflies. And all of a sudden, once you're there, there's so many people, it becomes eerily quiet, and there's people walking around with these signs that says silence please, silence please. But there's hundreds, if not thousands of people, and it's quite cold. It's high up in the mountains, and you see it's beaconed off, so you can't go and disturb the butterflies. And before midday, the butterflies are all in the shade of these particular trees that they sit on, and they look dead. They look grey and dead and dull and lifeless. And the moment the sun hits them, it's like you're in a fairy tale. They get their colour and they become alive, and you can actually hear them. You can hear the butterflies flutter. It was probably one of the most magical experiences I've ever had. It was... I don't have another word for it. It was just magical. If you can ever go and see the butterflies, and I believe that the peak where Angangueo is the best place to go and see it, in the bioreserve. Please do yourself a favor. It is such a phenomenon. It was just one of the highlights of my life.
Wow. All right, so what would you say the distance from here in Puerto Vallarta is to where the butterfly reserve is?
I'll have to check up on that. It's I'm not 100% sure, because we did it over such a staggered period of time. Yeah, so you're traveling for a few hours every day. But it's probably, it's very close to Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
The reserve. So if that gives you a clearer indication.
Yeah, no, it does. All right, so from there, what happened from there?
Where did we go after there? Querétaro. Now,
what did you think of Querétaro?
I keep saying to Russell, we have to go to Querétaro. And then he'll say to me, but we've been there. So I think the other cities may have made a bigger impression on me.
So Querétaro kind of is in the back row.
Look, I'm pretty sure I have a Facebook page on Querétaro, and I'm pretty sure I would have made it look fabulous, and it probably was, but there was just some of the other colonial cities that stood out so much more, that I remember so much better.
Okay, so you didn't spend a lot of time in Querétaro?
Not a lot, no.
No?
No.
And so
we
from there?
basically just spent a day there and then drove through to San Miguel de Allende, and that just blew our minds. It's absolutely gorgeous.
What was the thing that stood out most about San Miguel Allende?
Okay, the architecture for one, the way the old city is put together architecturally, and the fact that people seem to take massive pride in their homes. The places are in really good condition and constantly in a state of where they're running repairs. It's quite strange to see the color palette, which is all very, very similar, but it all just blends in. And there's so many quaint properties. When you walk the streets, as we do, you look into these sort of nondescript entrances, and then you look beyond that and you see these stunning courtyards, absolutely amazing and beautiful. Stunning restaurants, stunning art galleries, all sorts of things. It was just mind-blowingly beautiful, yeah.
There's a lot of expats, I think, living there. Did you find that there were, a lot of foreigners like us living there?
We spent most of our time in Centro, around the cathedrals and that sort of thing. So we didn't come into direct contact with them, but when we left San Miguel on our way to Guanajuato, driving through the outskirts of the city, you can see all the big American branded supermarkets and that sort of stuff, and a lot of gated communities, which we subsequently learned are very popular amongst expats.
Okay, yeah. So then you went to Guanajuato, and then you got your minds blown again, right?
Absolutely. We stayed. We booked a guest house stay online, and it really deserves mention. The place is called, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, San Barnaby Trace, which happens to be the street address of the property, which is about a kilometer out of Centro, up on the hill. But it belongs to a gentleman by the name of Russel and his wife Veronica. He inherited the property from his late mother, who had in turn purchased the building from one of the old mining companies in the area and run it as a school for many, many, many years. And then when Rafael, who is originally from Mexico City and a very well-known restaurateur from Mexico City, took over the property, his plan was to convert it into a boutique hotel, and they've painstakingly restored every little detail. The place is amazing. It's like an art gallery. You walk around this home, and you're just constantly blown away by the attention to detail. They've got the old aqueduct that used to feed the mining area for the laboratory and all that sort of stuff. It's all been left intact. All the facades and that have been redone in the style. They had a stonemason working there when we were there. He was painstakingly restoring the stonework. It was unbelievably beautiful, and him and his wife are both ultra hospitable. They made our stay so enjoyable, so much so that we actually went back there a second time with Elle's brother when he came to visit a few weeks ago, and we stayed with him again. They're absolutely superb.
Wow. So the name again of that place is?
San Barnaby Trace.
Okay, San Barnaby Trace. So
San
Barnaby Número 3.
Yeah, it's quite weird. You drive into this, you follow Google Maps, and you drive down this little dead-end road, literally, and you drive into a building, and you say, no, well, this can't be right. And then if you look to your right, you'll see the number, and The front doorbell is literally like a church bell that you have to ring for them to come and open the door. It's amazing, beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful.
And that's in Guanajuato.
In Guanajuato, yeah. But
Right,
as
so-
far as the city is concerned, Elle can probably tell you a bit more. I'm
Yeah,
hogging the mic.
St. Barnaby's is a walking distance from Centro. It's not. It's a short walk, but a nice brisk walk. Quite safe, I would say. And then you get down to the square. Of course, in all these colonial cities, everything happens around the square. This square was. Yeah, different level from the other colonial squares that we've seen. It was so many mariachi bands, so many restaurants. The Mexicans are extremely friendly.
And the minstrels as well.
Yes, minstrels come 4-5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just minstrels, and we never saw them playing any instruments, but they were constantly posing with tourists. And then you have that theatre that's just looking out over the square as well, which is so beautiful. It's a lovely place.
And when the mariachi bands start up, they have this sort of unwritten protocol. So you'll hear the one play, and they play like guns blazing, and as soon as they play their last note, the next one kicks off straight away without missing a beat. There's no lull in the music. It's just one after the other. It was unbelievable. Really, really festive.
And that whole square is like a lover's square. How many lovers did we not sit around there
Kissing,
on the yes?
kissing on the park benches.
Yeah, it's just a lovely place to be and just observe. Sit at one of the restaurants, get yourself a couple of drinks and a platter, charcuterie board or something, and you can literally sit there for 4 hours and just observe everything that's going on around you. It's lovely. It's beautiful.
We went in Querétaro. They've got that Avenue of the Kiss. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
That's not in Querétaro. That's in
No,
Guanajuato.
Guanajuato, sorry. It's the town is basically full of alleyways. There are little alleyways everywhere. The houses are stacked on top of one another up on the hill. And we'll talk about our little trip home down the alleyways one night. It was quite interesting.
And you have to tell them about the tunnels.
Yeah, no, we will. But the Avenue of the Kiss is this tiny little staired walkway between residences, and in one area it is so narrow that the balconies of the opposing buildings almost touch. And there's a fable or a story about some young lovers who were forbidden by the girls' parents to see each other, and they used to kiss each other while leaning over the balconies. It's quite a well-known tourist spot for people wanting to come and sort of reenact that little thing.
Yeah, it sounds like an Instagram death happening, getting ready to happen, right?
And then the other thing that blew our minds was driving into the city. The entire city is built on a maze of tunnels, which apparently were built for the stormwater drainage years and years and years ago. But nowadays, all the traffic is diverted through these tunnels. And the tunnels are amazing. I mean, you think of the tunnel in Puerto Vallarta where you just, you drive through the tunnel, you come out the other side. These tunnels have got cars parked inside the tunnels. And then the tunnels have got deviations. So you'll be driving along and all of a sudden the tunnel splits in 3 different directions. And then you've got another tunnel joining from the left and another one from the right. It's like a complete maze under there. It's unbelievable, and they go on for some distance. Really, really interesting.
That sounds a little confusing. Having, probably you've obviously never driven that street or those streets before, so I imagine you had a few close calls, maybe?
I wouldn't say close calls, but it was a bit daunting, though.
But wait a minute. You're driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, but that's where the steering wheel is. It's on the wrong side of the car, so it all works out all right.
All right. So from Guanajuato, then what happened?
We're not finished with Guanajuato.
No.
No.
If you're feeling a little bit macabre, you need to visit the Mummy Museum.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
Okay.
No.
So, story goes, in the graveyard they started exhuming bodies not too long ago because they were running out of space to bury people. And also there's this thing with burial tax where people that have passed on, their subsequent generations are still liable to pay tax on the
land,
burial
right?
site and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they exhumed a number of bodies, over 100 in total. And these bodies are so well preserved because of the very high
Calcium.
calcium content of the ground with the limestone, I suppose, with lime. Yeah, it'd be lime. Yeah. And they put them in a warehouse, and people started, coming to look at them like out of some weird, twisted,
Some macabre thing.
Yeah. And eventually they decided, well, they're going to build a museum out of this, which they have, which is on the same site as where the cemetery was or is, and people pay to go and see the display of these mummies, and it's a little bit weird when you go in there because you see the expressions on these people's faces that have passed on in the when they died, and there's a lot of very, very interesting stories. Each one is documented because they know who the people were, so they've got little stories about who they were and how they lived their lives and that sort of thing. I found it extremely interesting, although be it a little bit unnerving. Yeah?
A little strange.
Yeah, but very, very interesting. Well worth a visit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
One of the mummies that really caught my attention was a lady with a very distraught look on her face, and the inscription on her glass cage that she was in said that they actually found that she was buried alive. She suffered of a disease, and of course they had all the records of why the people passed away, and it was like a sleeping disease where you would wake up 3 days later and they thought she was dead, and they buried her. And the reason how they found out that she must have been alive or come alive was the fact that she was turned around in her coffin, and they could see that she was trying to crawl her way out, and she wasn't able to do that, and that was quite a shocking scene to see her. It touches you to see something like that.
Yeah. Wow. That's. I could see how that's a little bit distressful to see. Yeah.
Definitely was.
All right. So that was Guanajuato. Where'd you go from there?
From Guanajuato, we went shopping
Okay.
in Leon. I don't know if you've been to Leon.
No, but I understand it's a big leather center, yes?
It is the leather capital of Mexico. It is the leather area. They talk about the leather market. It's not a market. It is freaking huge. It probably covers about 8 blocks in the area, and it's just leather.
Yeah, if you're indecisive, don't go there.
Don't go.
Yeah.
It'll be a bad day for you.
Unbelievable, and the prices are so cheap.
Amazing.
Yeah, and really good quality as well. So if you want leather, that's the place to go.
Yeah, well, they say that's the shoe capital of Mexico.
Yeah, you can't negotiate there, and there's not much else to see in Leon apart from the leather, but it's worth it if you want to go and buy leather. It's definitely worth it.
Okay, all right. Did you stay in Leon?
No, we spent the day there. One day was enough. It was just mind blowing.
I'm sure, like leather overload.
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, we bought boots and we bought belts and we bought all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Russel wanted to go and buy some boots, and in the first few shops that you go in, you see a certain variety of boots, and most of these boots are handmade, or I think maybe all of them are handmade. And then you get to shops that are bigger, and then the next shop is even bigger. Eventually, you become so confused about what you want in your boots. You give up. You just don't know what you're looking for anymore because
they
there's
literally
certain
have
varieties.
Thousands of boots. Whatever skin you want, whether you want
Shark skin.
ray,
or
manta ray, crocodile, ostrich, buffalo, anything you can think of. They've got it. It's unbelievable.
Wow. All right, so when you left Lyon,
Lyon, we went to Guadalajara.
okay. Now talk about more shopping.
yes, yes.
Right?
More
Right?
shopping. Yeah, but let's miss the shopping for a while. Guadalajara, we stayed right near the square again in Centro, and we went walking one night as we do, and we by chance arrived back at the main square at about just before 8 o'clock, and the lights all went out, and there was like a countdown clock like you'd have for New Year's, illuminated up on the church, and the next minute there was a light show of epic proportions. Elle, you can...
Yes, it was basically the history of Guadalajara and Mexico portrayed on this cathedral, on the main cathedral wall. I don't know how they put that together, but we were mesmerized for about half an hour. The colors and the scenes and the actions that were taking place, and what was so interesting is the lines of the cathedral, like where you have your walls and your doors and your windows and things. The video footage lined up with that to make it even more spectacular. It's on my Facebook page, I have numerous videos of this show, but you really cannot explain it to someone until you've seen it, because the cathedral's quite big, and to see this entire cathedral light up with all these scenes that's alive, horses running and people working in the agave fields, it was a fabulous experience.
So this is a nightly thing that happens
Nightly, yes, as soon as it's dark, and there's about a 5-minute countdown that comes on very, very largely on the cathedral wall. And then the moment the countdown starts, you can see all the people gathering, and they're sitting around the fountain, and they're sitting on the square itself, just waiting for this show to start. And it's every night.
Okay, all right. So remember that, 8 o'clock, or whenever, like maybe the sundown or whatever.
They're going to wait until it gets dark. They're going to wait until it gets dark because of the
lights,
change with the daylight saving and all that sort of stuff. But they actually ran the show twice the one night that we were there.
The second night.
Yeah, like an hour later, they ran it again. So I think it might be on more than once in an evening.
All right. So how did you feel about Guadalajara? It's a huge city. What did you think?
Shopping
I
was
loved
good,
it.
eh,
The shopping was excellent. You know, they have that very, very big market there. And
It's
we've been there to the market twice. We've spent 2 days there on different trips, and I don't think we've seen half the market.
Yeah, they say well, if you believe Google or Wikipedia, they say that is the biggest undercover market in the Americas. Yeah, it is huge. I mean, there's just floors and floors and floors.
And Barry, you
stuff.
can literally buy anything there.
Yeah, pretty much. I couldn't get a horse though. No one wanted to sell me a horse.
Used cars?
No,
Right.
used cars.
Where'd you go from there?
From there, we went to Tequila. And
yes.
I think that speaks for itself.
What'd you find in Tequila?
I don't know, a bit of a blur.
How long did you stay there?
Both trips we spent there one night only.
Yeah.
Did we
How are
spend
the
one night
accommodations?
Yeah.
The accommodation, I must say, is a little bit pricey in Tequila for what it is.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to stay near the...
But face it, you don't stay in your room.
No, there's just so much going on. It's so busy, eh? It's busy.
Well, so what's a typical day like in Tequila, other than rolling in
You get up and
agave?
you go and drink tequila.
Okay, so it's just the weirdest thing. If you walk to the main square in Tequila, all the shops en route to the square, doesn't matter whether they're selling clothing or whatever, have got a little, like a tequila tiki bar outside the shop. So you can literally buy tequila every 5 meters. And then you get to the square, and there's probably 10 or 20 tequila tiki bars, and you can have just about any different variety of tequila in a drink that you care for.
And you buy it in this earthenware cup that you get to keep and walk around with. So everyone in tequila is walking around with this earthenware cup.
Or crawling or whatever, right?
Yes.
But really quaint little...
Yeah, it's a lovely little place, but one day is enough there.
But you need a full day, though. Unless you want to actually start, go out to the distilleries and stuff like that. We went to the Tequila Museum, which was very, very interesting.
Cuervo.
No, we went there as well. But the Tequila Museum,
right.
that was very interesting. You see the whole history of how tequila, sort of how they started making it and that sort of thing. They've got an amazing collection of really, really fancy tequilas.
And they also have the biggest tequila bottle in the world there.
Yeah, the 2 biggest ones.
Yes.
There was one, they made one, and then apparently they made another one just to make sure that the record stayed intact. Yeah. So if you want to see big tequila bottle, there's a place to go.
Yeah.
And the Cuervo facility is amazing. It's top class. It's immaculate. Everything is just so well put together, and
it's a very, very big building.
It's massive.
Yes, it's
massive. It's on both sides. Yeah. Really, really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
And they're obviously making a bit of money out of tequila sales somewhere in the world.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
And we always thought that they only make the Cuervo brand, but they don't. There's
so
lots
they make
of different tequilas that they make.
There's a lot of brands that they actually make, and brands that are, according to good sources that I have, very, very, very good tequila. So with us coming from New Zealand and South Africa, you only really know Jose Cuervo tequila. You don't know about
Patron.
all the
We know
other
Patron.
brands. You've never been exposed to the myriad of options that you have available. And I never knew that they made so many different types out of one manufacturing facility.
Yeah. Well, that's the only place where tequila comes from. So if you've got, they got to be making all the brands, right? Coming out of that place.
Yeah, I was amazed to see how the agave grows. Pretty much wild in the sense
everywhere.
that they plant agave in the fields, and then between the fence and the national road, there's a piece of land, so they plant agave there as well. It's
Why
like
not?
in no man's land. It's crazy.
Oh, man. So would you recommend tequila?
You got to, when in Mexico, do like the Mexicans do, you have to go to tequila. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
There's a tequila train that runs between Guadalajara and Tequila, and I guess we've always wanted to go on this tequila train, but I also think we're a little scared of it, because by the time we get to Tequila, we've had our fair share of tequila, and the tequila train is probably there to abuse tequila.
Yeah.
So we haven't done the tequila train yet, but maybe at some stage we will do that. I believe it's quite fun.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. All right, so from tequila, did you come home from tequila?
Yeah, after tequila we needed a break. So we made the trip home. I must tell you, just as far as the drive is concerned, had a little bit of trepidation initially setting out, obviously not having driven that much in Mexico, but having honed my skills on the streets of Vallarta, I thought put me in good shape to take that on. On the route going away, when we went as far as Querétaro, we used a lot of back roads, which were very, very interesting, because you go through villages of little obscure little villages all over the place. Very, very interesting. And then coming back, we used the toll roads. A lot of policing presence, whether it be federales or municipal or different types of police. We didn't get stopped for anything. We pretty much kept to the recommended speed limit of 10 kilometers over, which is what looks like the standard Mexicans add 10 or 20 k's to the speed limit. That's how you drive, and you don't stand out. If you travel at the speed limit, you tend to become obvious.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So it was really good. The back roads are a bit sketchy in terms of condition. The highways for the main toll road for the best part is in pretty good condition. But something that I found particularly interesting was just the number of trucks on the road. There are a massive amount of trucks on the road. So you just have to be sort of awake as to what they're doing and that sort of thing. Some of them travel at really high speed. Others, obviously, with big loads are traveling a lot slower.
But no roadblocks, no crazy stuff like that.
No crazy stuff at all.
Of course, you drove during the day, right? All the time?
We always drove during the day, yeah.
There were a few roadblocks, Russell, but they always waved us through.
But they were traffic stops. They were not roadblocks
Yes.
where they stopped us to solicit anything from us or anything like that. It was all really, really painless. The whole exercise was pretty painless.
Wow.
Yeah, but if you're going to go traveling, stay on the toll roads.
Yeah.
The toll roads are so much better. The other roads are not.
Just
not
one
in good
thing on the
condition.
toll roads. Okay, this just blew my mind a little bit. You're driving on the toll road, and there's a huge number of toll booths. And you're driving along, and it says to you, toll ahead, get your money ready. But that's the only clue they give you is
they don't tell you how much,
get
right?
your money. Yeah, when you arrive at the toll booth, then
you find out how much.
Then you know how much you need. It's a little bit strange.
And it can vary. It can vary between 23 pesos to 280 pesos.
Oh, wow.
So
there's
you never know how much
difference.
to keep
You never
with
know
you.
how much money to get ready. So.
Yeah, get your money ready. Okay, I'll just get my wad here.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. But yeah, they were very good with the change and that sort of stuff, so it wasn't really a problem.
Nice. Well, I think that this discussion has really made it, I think, has helped other people who are thinking about maybe taking some trips out of Puerto Vallarta to discover some of these really, really cool places that are not that far away.
Absolutely.
I know that you've got some other stories and some tales to tell, and I know that you're also heading down to past Acapulco. You're going all the way down almost to the
Yeah,
to
we're
the
leaving
border.
tomorrow morning early.
Yeah, so you've got more stories to tell.
Yes, I'm sure. But you know that we've been to Quintana Roo and the Yucatan in the meantime as well.
You did you drive there?
No, we flew there, but we
Okay.
rented a car there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So what did you think about Quintana Roo?
I think it's Little America.
Yeah.
We were not impressed with Cancun. I think the strip where all the all-inclusive hotels are, I think once you get on the beach side, I think it must be spectacular. I think it must be really beautiful. And the street itself is really, really nice as well. But once you get into proper Cancun, not great.
No?
I wasn't in love with it, but I can see how someone can be if they stay at an all-inclusive resort.
Yeah.
It certainly has very, very beautiful areas, but the city itself, we couldn't wait to get out of it.
When you flew out of Puerto Vallarta, where did you fly into?
We went to Mexico City and then we flew to Cancun.
Okay.
And got the car there, drove down to Playa del Carmen, then down to Tulum, and from Tulum we drove to Merida and
But we went to Cozumel. We stayed on
Of course,
Cozumel.
yes, and we also went to Isla Mujeres.
Yeah, and then also Isla Mujeres. We then went through to
Valladolid
Valladolid,
and Merida.
and then Merida. Yeah, we did a couple of the cenotes. We also There's one place in Tulum that people need to be forewarned about.
Yeah.
The one day we were thinking about what to do.
I know what's coming.
Yeah.
I know what's coming.
And we Googled, and they said you can actually drive through the biosphere.
It's the Shan Khan.
The
Shan Khan Biosphere,
Yeah, the biosphere. So anyway, rental car, we decided can't be that bad. And off we went, and we got to the gate. I think it cost was 100 pesos per person. And the Mexican officer said to me, the road is bad.
But
And
it's only 45 kilometers.
Yeah. Okay. So the road is bad. If a Mexican tells you the road is bad,
Believe them, right?
It's horrific. Okay. I kid you not. We drove as fast as the little wheels would turn. 45 kilometers took us
4.5 hours.
hours.
Gosh.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And not
10
for,
miles an hour.
Not for traffic. For it's just it looked like the area had been bombed.
But it was
No.
wonderful. The scenery
Was
was
it?
beautiful.
Yeah, the
yes.
scenery was great, but it's a horrific road. And then you get to the end of the road, and there's a tiny little town there with nothing. So you turn around, you drive.
And you're boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
So
back, right?
yeah. So
You take your obligatory photo,
yeah,
walk out on the
little pier,
yeah, the little pier.
and then we turned around and headed home, and
Get
we
home.
made it back in 4 hours.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Because we had no mercy for the rental.
Gosh, yeah. Well, then tequila right after that, right?
Heaps.
Yes.
So it was easy, obviously, to book your air flight. It was fairly easy to rent a car out of
Yeah.
Mexico City, and you'd do it again.
Yeah, no, certainly, yeah. The area is known for the cenotes.
Okay, so tell everybody what a cenote
Oh,
is.
they are gorgeous, babe. That's your department.
What's
the
a cenote?
cenotes?
Yes. We went to Gran Cenote. Was the first one that we went to. That was outside Tulum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. The cenotes are just a wonderful phenomenon of all these underwater caves with fresh water, and then the roof of the caves in some places have fallen right through, and you get these crystal clear waters. That's so cool and refreshing because, believe me, it's hot there. And we were there in winter, and it was hot, man. The water is so clear, it's so welcoming, really, really beautiful. And then I don't know whether you've seen the Instagram cenote where they stand on this platform in the middle of the cenote. I think it's
seen
called Satoon. Satoon. It's just outside the Merida Circle. There's quite a few cenotes there. The people literally queue up, and you get your 3 minutes on the platform, and then you must vamos.
Move for the next one.
Yes, but it's so worth it to go there. People don't even swim there anymore because it's just about the platform and
But
waiting for the
it's
sun
worth
to
just
hit.
sitting inside there watching
Yes.
the Instagram poses. These young girls with all their different preset moves, and it's like all choreographed. It's
Oh, yeah.
quite
Yeah, it was
funny,
quite interesting, but it certainly was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a cenote, you guys,
Yeah.
if you ever want to know what one is.
it's-
I'll have pictures of them in the show notes, so make sure you go check them out. And, of course, check the show notes out at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com, because I know that Ellie's going to share some of the pictures with me so that I can share them with you. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we say goodbye today?
No, I just think it. Look, we were initially really not worried, but
Apprehensive.
we had a little bit of trepidation in terms of actually driving on the roads in PV and in Mexico in general, and I can really say it took me a really short time to adjust to the Mexican way of driving. Having said that, it's on the wrong side of the road for me. It's all been quite seamless, and I mean, Ellie's quite a nervous passenger, but she's very comfortable with me driving, and things have been a lot easier.
slow down every now and then.
Yeah, well, I've got
Well, that's obligatory.
when the trucks are passing you, you know you're going too slow. but yeah, no, it's been really good, and the freedom of having a vehicle has been absolutely life changing. It's been really, really, really good. So I'd say to anybody, if you're considering doing it, just do it. It just opens up a whole new world to you.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you both, Russell, Ellie, for
It's our
joining me
pleasure.
again. You know, we're sitting in this little bar, a little El Anzuelo, which is
It's an amazing little place. Probably the best little hole in the wall pub in Mexico.
Yeah, it's a little secret. Now you all know about it, so I'll have that in the show notes too. You guys, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you,
time.
Barry.
You are busy people, and you take this time to visit with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you,
you.
Barry. We
Yeah.
really appreciate that you asked us again. It's really nice to be asked to do something like this. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Manny.
Wow. Thank you, Ellie and Russell. These two can just hardly stand still, right? What an adventure. Now, let me ask you something. Doesn't that just give you the itch to hit the road in Mexico? It does me, I'll tell you that. Anyway, next time we talk with Ellie and Russell, we're going to find out about their latest adventure, driving along the coast south. And I can't wait for that. Now, if you are listening to this podcast today, it's June 14th. I may not have all of Ellie's pictures up. You may have to wait till tomorrow to see all of Ellie's pics that she shared with me. And, of course, you will know where to find that. You can find that, of course, at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I'll even try to create a little map to give you the route that these two intrepid travelers took. All right. Well, hey, that should do it for today. Next week, stay tuned for more excursion ideas and more. Until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you should think of something that I should be talking about, well, reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and send me a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you need to go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him. He really needs your business. Go right there. Go to his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you're going to use someone else, so do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. And I have links to all of those in the show notes. Now, once again, if you like this podcast, take the time and subscribe and follow and share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta. Give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures, and more, all right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Thank you, Johnny D, for introducing me to our new driver. And thanks to you, Erik Calderon Sanchez. Thanks for sharing what you know about Uber and InDriver and taking up the slack here, being the driver in paradise that we've been looking for. Look for his information in the show notes or send me an email and I'll hook you guys up. And thank you again to Ellie and Russell for sharing your experiences, buying a used car and then driving it all over the place, giving us a glimpse into towns that we would all love to visit. You two are such a great interview. I just love their voices, don't you? What a wealth of information. Hey, thanks again. We'll see you on your next trip. Hey, you can find all that information, of course, at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Hey, and thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for you all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. camino eterno por la playa. Me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta.